are going to discuss about Vibrio cholerae, the causative agent of one of the severe form of acute diarrheal disease known as cholera. Okay. First introduction: Vibrio cholerae, the severe causative agent of severe form of diarrheal disease known as cholera. There are almost 35 Vibrio species. It means 35 Vibrio species were identified, and among them, 12 Vibrio species are known to cause human disease, gastrointestinal or non-gastrointestinal disease in human. 35 Vibrio species were identified. Among them, 12 Vibrio species are known to cause infection in humans. Okay, and almost all these Vibrio species belongs to family Vibrionaceae. And this name, Vibrio, came from its characteristic vibratory motility. It means Vibrio means vibratory motility. Among these 12 Vibrio species that cause infection in humans, these are some medically important species. They are Vibrio cholerae, Vibrio parahemolyticus, Vibrio mimicus, Vibrio alginolyticus, Vibrio pulnificus. Okay, these are among 12 Vibrio species. These are some medically important species. And among these, again, Vibrio cholerae is the most important species that cause acute diarrheal disease known as cholera. Okay, and almost all Vibrio species belonging to this family, Vibrionaceae, are non-sporing, non-capsulated, except Vibrio parahemolyticus. They are capsulated, Vibrio parahemolyticus and Vibrio pulnificus. Except these two species, almost all other species, Vibrio species, are non-sporing and non-capsulated, and almost all the Vibrio species are gram-negative curved-shaped bacilli. It means morphologically they are curved bacilli and are gram-negative in nature. And all Vibrio species are also actively motile by means of single polar flagella. Okay, and all Vibrio species are fermentative, strongly aerobic, and are oxidase positive, except Vibrio mednicovi. It means almost all Vibrio species are fermentative. They can ferment wide range of sugars like sucrose, mannose, okay, arabinose, and they are strongly aerobic. And an important biochemical characteristic of this Vibrio species is oxidase positive, except Metznikovi, Vibrio Metznikovi, it is oxidase negative. Okay, except this species, almost all other Vibrio species are oxidase positive. It means almost all Vibrio species can produce oxidase enzyme. Here I have shown the oxidase paper containing oxidase reagent. Okay, and when the bacteria coated on this paper containing oxidase reagent, the bacteria produce oxidase and cause development of purple color on filter paper. And talking about the history of Vibrio, in 1854, John Snow, who is also known as father of epidemiology, hypothesized that water as a primary reservoir for transmission. Okay, John Snow first just hypothesized that water is the cause of transmission of that diarrheal disease. And then same year, 1854, Filippo Passini identified curved or comma-shaped bacterium associated with this disease, and on the basis of its vibratory motility, he gave name Vibrio. Okay. First hypothesis was made by John Snow, and then same year, Filippo Passini identified that bacteria and gave name as Vibrio. And it was first isolated by Coates in 1886 from cholera patient in Egypt. First isolated by Coates in 1886 from cholera patient, okay, directly from patient suffering from cholera in Egypt. Okay, classification of Vibrio species. Vibrio can be classified on the basis of different, like on the basis of salt requirement. Vibrio species can be classified into halophilic and non-halophilic. Non-halophilic means those Vibrio species that can grow without salt, but few concentration of salt may enhance their growth. Right? They can also grow without salt, but presence of small amount of salt may enhance their growth. Okay, non-halophilic Vibrio include Vibrio cholerae and Vibrio mimitus. Okay, and halophilic means those Vibrio species that cannot grow in absence of salts. Okay, and for example, almost all Vibrio species like Vibrio parahemolyticus, Vibrio palmiticus, Vibrio alginoliticus, these are halophilic. Means they cannot grow without salt. Okay, Haber classification here. The classification of Vibrio is based on tree sugar, based on their ability to ferment tree sugars, mannose, arabinose, and sucrose. Okay. Haber classification here, the Vibrio species are classified on the basis of their ability to ferment three different sugars that are mannose, arabinose, and sucrose. And on the basis of these, on the basis of fermentation of these three sugar, Vibrio are classified into 8 groups, and Vibrio cholerae lies in group 1. Okay, and another third most important and widely accepted classification of Vibrio is Gardner's and Venkatraman's classification. This third Vibrio, this third classification of Vibrio is widely accepted classification. Here, the classification is done on the basis of serogroup, biotypes, serotypes, and phase types. Or here, the classification is done by based on serogrouping, biotyping, serotyping, and phase typing. Okay, this is the chart showing this Gardner and Venkatraman classification. Here, at first, the Vibrio species. Okay, almost all Vibrio cholerae showing similar biochemical properties and having common flagellar antigen, that is common X antigen, are included in group A. Okay, and almost all other Vibrio species that are biochemically and antigenically heterogeneous are placed in group B. It means Vibrio species first get divided into two groups, group A and group B. Group A include Vibrio cholerae, having similar biochemical properties and common flagellar antigen. And B, all other Vibrio species which are biochemically and antigenically heterogeneous. Okay, group B. And again, group A divided into two groups on the basis of somatic antigen. Okay, on the basis of surface antigen. O antigen, the Vibrio cholerae again divided into two groups. On the basis of somatic antigen, the more than or up to 200 serogroups were identified. Okay, on the basis of surface antigen, on the basis of variation in surface antigen of Vibrio cholerae, 200 different surface antigens are identified. And as most of the pandemic due to Vibrio cholerae were caused by O1 serogroup, the division is made like O1 and then non-O1. Okay, on the basis of surface antigen, more 200 groups were identified. Okay, and among these 200 groups, first serogroup, that is O1 serogroup, is responsible for most of the pandemic. Okay, so the group is divided in O1 and non-O1. Okay, O1 include only serogroup O1. Okay, and non-O1 include almost all serogroups, that is from O2 to O200. Okay, and previous time, as most of the pandemic is due to O1. Okay, these non-O1 are generally known as non-cholera vibrio or non-pathogenic vibrio, right? But in 1992, there was seventh pandemic that is due to O139. So no longer this non-O1 group are known as non-cholera vibrio. It means they also can cause disease. They also can cause cholera-like disease. Okay. बुझेछौ यो क्लासिफिकेसन? भिब्रियो अलमोस्ट अल भिब्रियोहरूलाई दुईटा ग्रुपमा डिभाइड गरिएको छ, ग्रुप ए र बी। ग्रुप ए मा भिब्रियो कोलेरी पर्ने भयो अन द बेसिस अफ बायोकेमिकल रिएक्सन्स है, सिमिलर बायोकेमिकल रिएक्सन भएको अनि सिमिलर फ्ल्याजिलर एन्टिजेन भएको सबै भिब्रियो कोलेरीहरूलाई एउटा ग्रुप ए मा राखियो अनि अरु सबै स्पिसिसहरूलाई अर्को ग्रुपमा राखियो है। अब ग्रुप ए मा भएको भिब्रियो कोलेरी अन द बेसिस अफ सर्फेस एन्टिजेन, अगेन सर्फेस एन्टिजेनको आधारमा अझ डिभाइड गरिएको छ है। अन द बेसिस अफ सर्फेस एन्टिजेन अप टु 200 सेरोग्रुप्स आर नोन है, 200 सेरोग्रुप्स आर नोन अन द बेसिस अफ ओ एन्टिजेन। अनि यसमा के छ त भन्दाखेरि मोस्ट अफ द पेन्डेमिक है, यो कोलेराको पेन्डेमिक चाहिँ युजुअली कज बाई O1 को कारणले, इट मिन्स द मोस्ट अफ द पेन्डेमिक आर ड्यू टु O1 सेरोग्रुप। त्यही भएर त्यति बेला के गरियो त भन्दाखेरि O1 लाई एउटा ग्रुप अनि नन O1 गरेर अरु सबै सेरोग्रुपहरूलाई अर्को ग्रुपमा राखियो है। अनि पहिला अलि एन्सियन्ट पिरियडमा यो O1 लाई चाहिँ नि कजेटिभ एजेन्ट अफ कोलेरा भयो हैन, कोलेरा सेरोग्रुप भनेर चिनिन्थ्यो भने यो नन O1 लाई नन O1 वर नोन एज नन कोलेरा भिब्रियोज। बट द कन्डिसन वाज नट रिमेन सेम है। ड्युरिङ 1992 है, 1992 मा there was seventh pandemic and that was due to O139 है। O139 को कारणले सेभेन्थ पेन्डेमिक भयो। त्यति बेलादेखि यो नन O1 ग्रुपलाई पनि प्याथोजेनिक अथवा कोलेरा कजिङ सेरोग्रुपका रूपमा चिनियो है। ओके एन्ड देन दिस O1 serogroup is again divided into two biotypes on the basis of biochemical properties. This O1 serogroup further divided into two groups, two types known as biotypes. Right? On the basis of surface antigen serogroups are bio O1, O2, O3 sabai, and on the basis of biotypes, on the basis of biochemical properties, divided into two biotypes, this classical and Ilter. Okay. And again, on the basis of minor surface antigen difference, again divided into three serotypes, Ogawa, Inaba, and Hikojima, both classical and Ilter, right? For both classical and Ilter, on the basis of minor antigen, surface antigen difference, again divided or differentiated into three serotypes known as Ogawa, Inaba, and Hikojima. Okay, this is all about the classification of Vibrio on the basis of Gardiner and Ben-Cutterman classification. And again, there phase typing, fast typing, and ribotyping are also done for which further cause differentiation of Vibrio species, differentiation of strain of Vibrio species. Right? This is the biochemical difference between classical and Ilter. It means the O1 divided into two biotypes, classical and Ilter, on the basis of biochemical properties like this, right? Classical biotype, hemolysis is positive in Ilter biotype, okay? Host-Poskir reaction is also positive in Ilter biotype. Sick erythrocyte agglutination is also positive in Ilter biotype. Polymyxin B sensitivity is shown by classical biotype and is not by Ilter, okay? And group IV, group 4 fast susceptibility, classical cholera, okay? It means classical biotype are susceptible to group 4 fast, and then Ilter fast 5, it is susceptible to Ilter biotype. These are the difference in between classical and Ilter. And these Ogawa, Inaba, and Hikujima, these serotypes. These Ogawa and Inaba serotypes are usually agglutinated by their type-specific antisera, whereas this Hikojima serotype can be agglutinated either by Ogawa antiserum or by Inaba antiserum, because Ogawa has antigen AB, Inaba AC, whereas Hikojima has both A, B, C. It means it shares the antigen, common antigen of Ogawa and Inaba. So Hikojima serotype is agglutinated either by Ogawa and Inaba. Okay, after classification, let's focus on Vibrio cholerae. Vibrio cholerae, as I have already mentioned that almost all Vibrio species are gram-negative, curved or comma-shaped. Yes, this Vibrio cholerae is same, that is gram-negative, usually curved or comma-shaped, about 1.5 to 0.2 to 0.4 micrometer in size. Okay, 1.5 length, 0.2 to 0.4 breadth in size, micrometer in size. And the Vibrio cholerae are comma shaped, but on continuous subculture, they may lose this shape, right? They may lose this shape and they may appear as bacilli. And again, paleomorphism can be seen in old cultures. Okay, and these Vibrio cholerae are actively motile with monotrichous flagella, that is single polar flagella, and the motility of Vibrio cholerae is also known as darting type motility, because the motility of this bacteria is very fast that we can't see the position change during its motility. So also known as darting type motility, that is just like shooting star, that is very fast motility. And in stained mucus flakes, when this mucus flakes of the stool is stained, we can see the parallel row of these bacteria. So described by quotes as fish in stream appearance. Okay. Sensitivity to physical and chemical agent. These Vibrio cholerae are killed. It means these Vibrio cholerae are heat labile, okay, and acid labile. It means they are killed by moist heat at 55 degrees Celsius in 15 minutes, as well as by drying and low pH. It means normal gastric juice also destroyed this bacteria within minutes, and can survive. This bacteria can survive for 1 to 2 weeks in non-acid fresh or sea water. It means these bacteria are heat labile and acid labile, but can tolerate the alkaline environment. Survive for 1 to 2 weeks in non-acid fresh sea waters. Okay, talking about the cultural characteristic of these Vibrio cholerae, they are strongly aerobic, that is growth is scanty and slow anaerobically. It means they are strongly aerobic, and they can grow within the temperature range in between 16 to 40 degrees Celsius, but as always, optimum temperature for their growth is 37 degrees Celsius. And it can grow better in alkaline environment, alkaline medium, that is low NaCl, 0.5 to 1%. But high concentration will be inhibitory. Vibrio cholerae are non-halophilic. It means they can survive without salt, but the presence of small amount of salt enhance their growth. So the presence of NaCl 0.5 to 1% will enhance the growth of Vibrio cholerae, but high concentration is always inhibitory. And growth well, these Vibrio cholerae can also grow well in ordinary media like nutrient agar, Mackenzie agar. Okay. Pathogenesis. Vibrio cholerae usually transmitted through ingestion of contaminated food and water. It means the transmission is by fecal-oral route. That is transmitted through fecal-oral route by ingestion of contaminated food and water. And gastric acidity acts as moderate barrier for these bacteria because these Vibrio cholerae, these bacteria are acid labile. So in order to bypass this gastric acidity, its infective dose is very high. It means a person, an individual have to ingest 10 to the power 8 bacilli per ml in order to bypass gastric acidity and reach up to small intestine, right? As these Vibrio cholerae are acid labile, in order to overcome the acidic environment of stomach, high effective dose is required, that is 10 to the power 8 bacilli per ml is required to bypass gastric acidity. But in case of hypochlorhydric person, only 100 organism per ml can cause disease. Okay, it means only 100 organism per ml is sufficient in hypochlorhydric person. Bacteria can, after ingestion along with food or water, and after bypassing the acidic environment of stomach, the bacteria reach to the epithelium of the small intestine by bacterial motility and production of mucinase and different other proteolytic enzymes. And these proteolytic enzymes are also known as hemagglutinin protease, which is also known as cholera lectin. Okay, after ingestion, the bacteria reach to the epithelium of small intestine through its various pyrulence factor, like its motility, production of mucinase and different proteolytic enzyme. Okay, and after reaching up to the it means after reaching to the epithelium lining of the small intestine, it remain attached. It remain attached to intestinal epithelium with the help of type 4 pilus. Okay, after reaching up to the epithelial lining of the small intestine, it remain attached with the help of type 4 pilus or fimbriae, which is also known as toxin co-regulated pilus, TCP. It means adhesion. The attachment of bacteria to intestinal epithelium is facilitated by type IV pilus or fimbriae, which is also known as toxin co-regulated pilus. It is known as toxin co-regulated pilus because the cholera toxin and these pilus or fimbriae, as well as many other pyrulence factor of bacteria, is regulated by TOXR gene, so known as toxin co-regulated pilus. Okay, and these Vibrio cholerae produce after attachment. Okay, after attachment or after adhesion of this bacteria to the intestinal lining, intestinal epithelial lining, this Vibrio cholerae start producing enterotoxin known as choleragine or simply cholera toxin. And this toxin, this enterotoxin, that is cholera toxin, is similar to the heat labile toxin produced by enterotoxigenic E. coli. Okay, this toxin is just similar to heat labile toxin produced by enterotoxigenic E. coli, but it is much more potent. This cholera toxin is much more potent in comparison to heat labile toxin produced by ETEC. Structurally and mode of action of this cholera toxin is similar to heat labile toxin produced by ETEC, but cholera toxins are much more potent in comparison to toxin produced by ETEC. Okay, and the Vibrio cholerae remain attached to the epithelial lining. Okay, but one thing, it do not invade the epithelial lining. Okay, it did not cause invasion to the epithelial lining. It just remain attached, and almost all clinical manifestation seen in cholera is due to this toxin, not by bacteria itself. It means the bacteria only remain attached to the intestinal epithelium lining and produce toxin. It do not invade the epithelial lining. It do not invade the uh, epithelial cells. Okay, it just remain attached and produce toxins, and so there is no bacteremia, right? Bacteremia huँदैन. So we cannot see blood in stool, like blood देखिँदैन stoolमा, because these Vibrio cholerae are non-invasive. All the clinical manifestation are due to toxin. Okay, mechanism of action of cholera toxin, right? Mode of action of cholera toxin. This is very important. Okay, this cholera toxin consists of two peptide fragments, fragment A and B. And the molecular weight of this cholera toxin is 84,000. Okay, and these two fragment, among these two fragment A and B, B fragment is also known as binding fragment, and it is pentameric in nature. Okay, it means it contains 5 subunits. Cholera toxin, after attachment of Vibrio cholerae on the intestinal epithelial lining, it start producing cholera toxin. Okay, and this cholera toxin consists of two peptide fragments, A and B. B fragment is also known as binding fragment and is pentameric. It means it again contains 5 subunits. Okay, and this B fragment binds to the GM1 ganglioside receptors present on the intestinal epithelium, that is mostly on jejunal part of small intestine. Okay, this binding fragment or B fragment bind to GM1 ganglioside receptor present on the intestinal epithelium, that is jejunal part of small intestine, and then after binding the toxin get internalized, and as the toxin get enter inside the cell, a fragment a fragment get cleaved into A1 and A2. Okay, as toxin get inside this cell, it A fragment cleaved into A1 and A2 peptides. And A2, the main function of A2 is just to link A1 with B fragment. Okay, A1 with B, and almost all enzymatic action is shown by A1 fragment. Okay, A1 subunit. Here you can see the structure of cholera toxin: pentameric B subunit, monomeric A subunit. Okay, and as this toxin get internalized, A subunit divided or cleaved into two peptides, A1 and A2. A2 just link B subunit with A1, and almost all enzymatic activities are shown by A1 peptide or A1 subunit. A1 subunit, A1 peptide activate adenylate cyclase. Okay, the main action shown by this A1 is it causes ribosylation. It causes ribosylation of G protein, and this cause activation of adenylate cyclase, and this result in accumulation of intracellular cyclic adenosine monophosphate. Okay, all the enzymatic activities shown by A1 subunit. This A1 subunit increase the adenylate cyclase activity. It means this A1 subunit cause the ribosylation of G protein, and this cause the activation of adenylate cyclase, and this increased adenylate cyclase activities cause accumulation of cyclic adenosine monophosphate, cyclic AMP. Okay, and this increased intracellular cyclic AMP cause this increased intracellular cyclic AMP leads to secretion of chloride ion, bicarbonates, potassium ion, and it causes decreased absorption of sodium ion. It means it causes increased secretion of ions and decreased absorption of ions. It means it changes the osmotic gradient, and this change in osmotic gradient cause large amount of fluid to be excreted into lumen of bowel, resulting secretory diarrhea. Okay, here is the figure showing the mode of action of toxin produced by Vibrio cholerae. This is the cholera toxin. B subunit bind to the GM1 receptor present on the epithelial cell, and as soon as toxin get internalized, fragment A cleaved into two peptides, A1 cause ribosylation of zip protein, and it cause increased myeloid cyclase activity, and this cause increase intracellular CAMP, and this increase in intracellular CAMP cause loss of ions, increase secretion of ions, and inhibit absorption of ions, and this cause variation in the osmotic gradient. And in order to maintain this osmotic variation, the large amount of fluid get excreted to the lumen and resulting diarrhea, secretory diarrhea. Okay, बुझिरहेको छ सबैले? मोड अफ एक्सन एकदम इम्पोर्टेन्ट छ है, राम्ररी बुझ्ने एकदम इम्पोर्टेन्ट छ. Okay, now clinical manifestation. The incubation period for this Vibrio cholerae varies, that is maybe less than 1 day, or maybe less than 24 hours, or up to 5 days. Right? For the incubation period varies, that is less than 24 hours or up to 5 days. And then after incubation period, there is an abrupt onset. Incubation period varies, that is maybe less than 1 day or maybe up to 5 days. And then after this incubation period, there is abrupt onset of disease. After incubation period, there is abrupt onset of disease with initial sign of vomiting and diarrhea. Okay, and the cholera toxin is typically, cholera stool. Cholera stool is typically a colorless, watery fluid with flakes of mucus that resemble water in which rice has been washed. That is, the stool of cholera is usually colorless and watery, and it contains flakes of mucus. It contains flakes of mucus so that it appears to the watery stool. That means it appears or it resembles water in which rice has been washed. So also known as cholera stool is also known as rice watery stool. And it also have characteristic inoffensive sweetish odor. The cholera stool also have characteristic inoffensive sweetish odor. Please turn off mic. Talking about the clinical manifestation, incubation period for this Vibrio cholerae is varies, that is, it may be less than 1 day or maybe up to 5 days. And after this incubation period, there is abrupt onset of disease with initial sign of vomiting and diarrhea. Okay, and the cholera stool, the diarrhea or the stool produced in this cholera disease is typically colorless, watery, and it contains flakes of mucus. And this resembles to the water in which rice has been washed. It means the cholera stool is also known as rice watery stool, and it have characteristic inoffensive sweetish odor. And in composition, this cholera stool contain large amount of electrolytes along with little proteins, large amount of fluid, large amount of water along with electrolytes like sodium chloride, potassium bicarbonates, and it contains very little protein but no erythrocytes. As the Vibrio cholerae is non-invasive, there is no RBC in stool. It just contains large amount of water along with electrolytes. And this loss of large amount of fluid and electrolytes leads to hemoconcentration, hypokalemia, anuria, shock, and acidosis. Okay, it means almost all clinical manifestation in cholera is due to excessive loss of water and electrolytes. Okay, due to excessive loss of water and electrolytes, it causes many complications, many clinical manifestations. And most common complications include muscular cramp, renal failure, pulmonary edema, cardiac arrhythmia, which may result death. Okay, almost all clinical manifestations are due to loss of large amount of water and electrolytes. These are the symptoms of cholera: profuse watery diarrhea, stomach pain, leg cramp. There is no fever, or it may have mild fever, right? And then vomiting, sunken eyes, cheeks, in case of infants, sunken frontanils, and have dry mouth with extreme thirst and anuria, that is decreased urinary output. Okay, epidemiology of cholera. Talking about the epidemiology of cholera, in between 1817 and 1923, there were 6 cholera pandemic. There occurred 6 cholera pandemic in between 1817 and 1923. And these all 6 cholera pandemic were due to Vibrio cholerae, that is classical biotype, and originated in Asia with subsequent spread to other continent. It means 6 cholera pandemic caused by Vibrio cholera classical biotype. And again, the 7th pandemic began in Indonesia in 1961 and affected more countries and continent than previous 6 pandemic because it was caused by Vibrio cholerae ilter. It means Vibrio cholerae ilter biotype. All 6 cholera pandemic, Vibrio cholerae classical biotype, and 7th pandemic caused by Vibrio cholerae ilter. And in comparison to this 6 cholera pandemic, in 7th cholera pandemic, it affects more countries and continents because this ilter biotype cause cholera or cause disease that is mild in comparison to classical biotype, and are most of the disease are asymptomatic, or most of the infection are asymptomatic. Ilter cause asymptomatic and mild form of diarrheal disease in comparison to classical biotype. So here, as most of the cases are asymptomatic, here no precautions are taken so that it could spread to the large geographical area, right? So in comparison, due to this difference in biotype, in 7th pandemic, more countries and continents were affected. And again, in October 1992, an epidemic of cholera emerged from Madras in India as a result of new serogroup, O139. Okay, up to 7th pandemic, they were by O1 serogroup. O1 serogroup, 6th pandemic by classical biotype, and 7th pandemic by ilter. In 1992, the epidemic of cholera was due to O139. Okay, and some experts regard this as an 8th pandemic. And more invasive, this serogroup O139. Okay, these Vibrio cholerae belonging to serogroup O139 are more invasive and cause bacteremia and extraintestinal manifestation. Okay, this serogroup is more invasive and cause bacteremia and extraintestinal manifestation that is more severe in comparison to serogroup O1. So there was a threat that it could again generate pandemic. This O139 could again generate pandemic, but very soon the O139 was overcome by ilter. Okay, it means all the O139 are just overcome by ilter biotype, but still in few regions the O139 has remained and causing localized epidemics. Epidemiology of cholera in Nepal. The first recorded cholera epidemic took place in 1823. In Nepal, the first cholera epidemic took place in 1823, followed by a series of many epidemics. And in Nepal, Vibrio cholerae O1, ilter, Ogawa is endemic and is seasonal in nature, mostly seen in rainy and monsoon season. The large cholera outbreak was reported in Nepal in 2009, with more than 30,000 people affected, in which more than 500 lost their life, and was in Jazarkot in Mid-West region. And more recently, during 2014 monsoon, a cholera outbreak was reported in Rautahat in Tarai region, during which more than 600 people were affected and were laboratory confirmed to be cholera. Okay, this is the epidemiology of cholera in Nepal. Okay, now laboratory diagnosis. For the laboratory diagnosis of this cholera, this diarrheal disease, the specimen of choice of specimen is freshly collected watery stool before administration of antibiotic. Okay, the best specimen for diagnosis is freshly collected watery specimen in sterile wide mount container. And rectal swab may be used for those who no longer have watery diarrhea. Okay, the choice of specimen is that freshly collected watery stool. But if the patient has no longer having diarrhea, no longer have watery diarrhea, the rectal swab can be collected. And while collecting rectal swab, the swab should be made up of good cotton quality so that it can absorb 0.1 to 0.2 ml stool. Okay, and the vomit test is not useful for laboratory diagnosis. Direct microscopy, uh, the quick diagnosis of cholera can be done by motility test. Okay, can be done by uh, observing the motility of Vibrio cholerae. It means the quick diagnosis can be done by motility test, and that is usually performed by hanging drop method. And I have already told this Vibrio cholerae is highly motile bacteria having single polar flagella, and the motility is so fast that it is known as darting type motility. Quick diagnosis can be done by motility test and hanging drop method. Here I have shown the pictures showing hanging drop method. For hanging drop method preparation, we require slide, okay, glass slide with central depression, so also known as depression slide. Okay, and here we have cover slip, and at the center we have to place a drop of watery stool. Okay, at the center of the cover slip we have to put drop of watery stool, and then the side or the corner of the cover slip are coated with petroleum jelly, and then the depression slide, and then this cover slip should be inverted to the depression slide. Okay, this cover slip should be inverted to the slide having depression like this. Okay, and here you can see uh, mm, you can see drop of liquid with specimen upside down. It means just like hanging drop. Okay, and this method is known as, this preparation is known as hanging drop method. Okay, and this method is usually done for observing motility of bacteria. And here the quick diagnosis is done by observing the motility of bacteria, that is darting type motility. But it may cause confusion, like in our GI tract it may be colonized by different other gram negative bacteria that they are also motile. Okay, our GI tract is colonized by many other bacteria which are also motile, like Pseudomonas species, they are also motile, and similarly Campylobacter, Aeromonas, they are also motile. And also they also have a fast motility, so we cannot make complete difference in these bacteria, bacterial motility. Okay, so in order to confirm, we can add a drop of Vibrio cholerae antisera. Okay, we can mix a drop of Vibrio cholerae antisera to the stool specimen. Okay, at first when we observe, after adding this antisera in the stool specimen, again when we observe for the motility, okay, if the motility is is due to Vibrio cholerae, then after adding that antisera, के हुन्छ त भन्दाखेरि antisera mix गरिसकेपछि the Vibrio, it bind to the Vibrio cholerae. Yes, it bind to the flagellar antigen of the Vibrio cholerae. So there we cannot see motility. है कन्फर्म गर्नको लागि चाहिँ नि Vibrio cholerae को X एन्टिजेन विरुद्धको एन्टिबडी एन्टिसेरा एड गरेर अनि फेरि मोटिलिटी टेस्ट गरेर we can confirm, right? And usually this motility test is observed through dark ground microscope, right? Dark ground microscope ma observe गरिन्छ motility test. And gram staining, direct gram staining is also is not fruitful, right? It is also not fruitful because GI tract colonized by number of gram-negative bacilli. Yes, we just cannot make clear identification of Vibrio cholerae through direct gram staining, right? Through gram staining, yes, we can see curved bacilli in different forms and shape, but we cannot just confirm that this is Vibrio cholerae. Okay, just direct microscopy quick diagnosis by motility, and in order to confirm, we have to add antisera. Okay. Okay. If we cannot deliver the specimen up to laboratory for processing in time, we have to keep this specimen. We have to keep specimen within the transport media, or we have to deliver. We have to inoculate specimen within transport media during delivery up to lab for its processing. Okay, and transport media used for Vibrio cholerae are Venkataraman Ramakrishnan and Claribeer medium. Okay, what is meant by transport media? What is the role of transport media? भन त कसैले डिले ल्याबसम्म पुर्याउन ढिला भयो भने in case of delay to deliver specimen up to lab, we must inoculate this specimen to transport media. Okay, and for cholera, transport media are Venkataraman Ramakrishna and Claribeer medium. Okay, these two medium can be used as transport media. What is the role of transport media? के हो त transport media को काम? किन inoculate गर्नुपर्छ transport media मा? Anyone? Yes? Clear भएन के भन्यो?
Ma'am, to preserve the media for long time.
To
preserve the media
viability
to prevent overgrowth.
To maintain viability of bacteria. Okay, to maintain viability. The main function of transport media is to maintain the viability of bacteria, right? Bacteria ko viability, it maintain the viability of bacteria. It do not support the bacteria to multiply. Transport media do not support bacteria to multiply, okay, but maintain its viability. It maintain its number, its actual number in that specimen, okay. Since the Vibrio cholerae is heat labile, acid labile, yes, and it also can easily destroyed when it get dry, yes. So it should be always transported up to lab by inoculating into transport media, and these two are transport media used for transporting stool for Vibrio cholerae. And the Claribeer medium is medium that is also used for transporting Salmonella and Shigella. Okay, the Venkataraman Ramakrishna medium, it is the composition is 20 gram crude sea salt and 5 gram peptone in 1 liter water, and pH is in between 8.6 to 8.8. Okay, and then Claribeer medium, buffer solution of sodium chloride, sodium thioglycolate, disodium phosphate, calcium chloride, and pH is in between 8.4. It means alkaline pH is maintained. And then enrichment broth. Before inoculating into agar, before inoculating into selective, non-selective agar, first the specimen should be inoculated into enrichment broth. Okay, what is the function of enrichment broth, or what is the role of enrichment broth? Why enrichment broth are used? के हो त enrichment broth को चाहिँ काम?
Bacteria को growth बढाउने.
Bacteria को growth बढाउन. सबै bacteria को के हो? के हुन्छ?
fastidious or
Selective.
Yes, selective. It promotes the multiplication of selective bacteria only, right? In case of Vibrio cholerae, this alkaline peptone water and Monsieur torticolate telluride peptone water are used as enrichment broth. It means these two enrichment broth, it supports the multiplication of only Vibrio cholerae. while it inhibits the multiplication of other bacteria that may be present in specimen, right? Okay, remember this name, right? Transfer media for Vibrio cholerae and enrichment media. Okay, after inoculating specimen in this enrichment media and incubating for 4 to 6 hours, we can make subculture of this specimen to different selective as well as non-selective media like nutrient agar, non-selective media like nutrient agar, McConkey agar. Okay, in nutrient agar, we can see moist translucent round discs having 1 to 2 mm in diameter. Okay, round disc shaped colonies having 1 to 2 diameter, 1 to 2 mm in diameter, and blue sting can be seen on colonies when it is transmitted by light, right? And McConkey agar, late lactose fermenter. It means at first colorless and lately prolonged incubation, it gets turned into reddish color or pinkish color. And selective media for Vibrio cholerae are thiosulfate, citrate, bile salt, sucrose, agar. Okay, please remember these names. Selective media for Vibrio cholerae: thiosulfate, citrate, bile salt, sucrose, agar. TCBS. Okay, this one is most widely used selective media, and pH is maintained in between. pH is maintained at 8.6, and on this media, on this agar, Vibrio cholerae will form yellow colonies. Okay, many other bacteria that may be present in stool are inhibited because of presence of these bile salt and alkaline pH. Okay, and the yellow colonies are formed by Vibrio cholerae because they can ferment sucrose. Okay, as they ferment sucrose, there is formation of yellow colonies because here bromothymol blue is used as indicator, and this indicator in acidic condition will turn into yellow, so yellow color colonies. Okay, Monsieur torocholate telluride gelatin agar. Again, this is another selective media, and pH is maintained at 8.5, and it forms in this media there is formation of grayish black center colonies which is surrounded by halo. Okay, grayish black center colonies which is surrounded by halo, and this halo is due to ability of bacteria to liquefy gelatin. Okay, it means ability of bacteria to produce gelatinase, which cause liquefaction of gelatin. And alkaline based bile salt agar, and a third selective media, alkaline bile salt agar, and this agar was used in previous time, but nowadays they are not in use, right? And on this media, on this agar, the bacteria form colonies that is just similar to that formed in nutrient agar, that is translucent 1 to 2 mm diameter colonies. Blue thing can be seen in transmitted light. Okay, and after inoculating on these selective, non-selective media and incubating for 24 hours at 37 degrees Celsius, if there is growth of bacteria that I have described on specific media, if there is growth of bacteria, then further identification can be made on the basis of different biochemical reactions like oxidase, catalase. Okay, oxidase, these Vibrio cholerae are oxidase as well as catalase positive. This Vibrio cholerae can ferment wide range of sugar, glucose, maltose, mannose, sucrose, mannitol with production of acid only. Okay, it do not produce gas, it produces only acid. Indole positive, methyl red negative, urease negative, cholera red reaction positive. That is this cholera vibrio. It means this Vibrio cholerae can produce indole. Yes, and again this Vibrio cholerae can also reduce nitrate into nitrite. Okay, and these two property cause cholera red reaction positive. It means these two property cause formation of nitrosoindole, and this cause red colored reaction on addition of COVAX reagent. Sorry, on addition of concentrated sulfuric acid. Okay, it means when the peptone water inoculated with Vibrio cholerae are inoculated Vibrio cholerae after 24-hour incubation is added with concentrated H2SO4, then we can see red color, development of red color, that is due to cholera, that is due to formation of nitrosoindole, okay, and is known as cholera red reaction. String test positive when the when the colonies, Vibrio cholera colonies are placed on the slide and is mixed with 0.2% sodium deoxycholate. Okay, when the Vibrio colonies are placed, when the colonies that are grown on these culture media are picked up by inoculating loop and placed on clean sterile slide, okay, and when these colonies are mixed with 0.2% sodium deoxycholate, then the colonies will lose its turbidity, and when the loop is when the loop try to hold this suspension, or when loop is moved away touching this suspension, right, there will be formation of string, right, there will be formation of string, so known as string test positive, okay. And Bose-Bosker, that is negative for almost all other Vibrio species. It means that is negative for classical biotype, okay, and many other Vibrio species, while it is positive for Ilter, okay. Bose-Bosker, positive for Ilter biotype and is negative for classical biotype. After identification up to species level through biochemical properties, again, identification up to serogroups, biotypes, and serotypes can be done by agglutination tests. Like colonies are picked up with straight wire and tested with Vibrio cholerae O1 antiserum. Okay, colonies, in order to identify serogroup, biotype, and serotypes, first colonies are mixed up with cholera 1 antiserum. Cholera 1 antiserum, if there is agglutination, formation of agglutination, it is known as O1 serogroup. Okay, and again, that positive colonies are again repeated with monospecific antisera of Ogawa and Inaba in order to know serotypes. Okay, and if there is no agglutination formation in O1 when mixed with O1 antiserum, then it is agglutinated by H antiserum. Okay, but not only it agglutinated by H1 antiserum. यसमा O1 antiserum हाल्दाखेरि agglutination आएन भने फेरि H antiserum हालेर मिक्स गरेर हेरिन्छ है, अनि O1 मा नआउने H मा आउने भयो भने it is non O1 भनेर बुझिने भयो है. But nowadays there is also use of O139 antiserum है, अनि फेरि O139 antiserum राखेर पनि हेर्न सकिन्छ, मिक्स गरेर हेर्न सकिन्छ. And if there is agglutination formation, then we know it is serogroup O139 है, O139 भनेर बुझिने भयो. अनि O139 बाट पनि भएन भने non O1 भनेर बुझिने भयो है, non O1 and non O139 भनेर बुझिने भयो. Okay, this is the treatment for Vibrio cholerae, that is prompt and main. As the most of the clinical manifestations or complication is due to loss of fluid and electrolyte, the main treatment is prompt and adequate replacement of lost fluid and electrolyte. Right? Antibiotic is not first priority. The first priority is replacement of fluid and electrolyte. That is oral rehydration solution containing glucose, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, sodium citrate, and along with intravenous fluid in severe patient. Okay, and cereal-based preparations such as thoroughly cooked and salted rice soup equally effective for treatment. And antibiotic therapy is always in secondary importance. First is to replace the lost electrolytes and fluids. Okay, and antibiotic therapy is of secondary importance and usually given on the basis of antibiotic susceptibility tests performed for that grown bacteria. Right? And usually use usually antibiotic used for treating this Vibrio cholerae or cholera is tetracycline, cotrimoxazole. And now prophylaxis. Prophylaxis, the protected water supply and environmental sanitation is main preventive measure for controlling this Vibrio cholera, because it is fecal-orally transmitted disease. Yes, and there are two types of vaccine in use. Right? For Vibrio cholerae, there are two types of vaccine, that is killed whole cell oral vaccine. One is with B subunit and another one is without B subunit. Okay, killed whole cell Vibrio cholerae O1 and recombinant B subunit of cholera toxin, which is given orally, and this vaccine degree of protection for this vaccine is 85% for 6 months after 2 doses, and it is given to all above age of 2 years, right? Only given to children above 2 years, and it provides 85% protection for 6 months. And another vaccine is killed whole cell vaccine, that is Vibrio cholerae serogroup O1 and O139. Killed whole cell vaccine containing O1 and O139. Okay, so and protection is safe and efficacious, and live and oral vaccine, classical ilter with deleted toxin gene, and which may be effective vaccine and is still in development. Okay, thank you class.